Hi everyone, welcome to one more episode of Swydo Expert Talks. Today we have the pleasure to sit down with Jeremy Horne. He's the founder of DataCove and it's an all-in-one data operations platform that helps companies manage data pipelines. So they use actually data analysis and predictive modeling to save businesses time and money, right? That's the value proposition. And
Wow.
yeah. We are diving today in a topic that will probably resonate with anyone working in marketing right now, measurement. And despite having more data than ever, many teams still struggle to answer a very simple question: what is actually driving results? So, in the upcoming talk, our measurement is a mess and Google Analytics is the problem. Sounds very challenging. Jeremy Horne is challenging one of the core tools we have been relying on for years and argues that it may actually be distorting how we evaluate marketing success. So today, we'll unpack what's broken, why it matters, and what marketers should do differently moving forward. Very excited about this one. Jeremy, the stage is yours, so feel free to share your screen.
That's wonderful. And I think before I share my screen, just a massive thank you to you and the whole team for inviting me on as well. So really, I enjoy talking to people. I could go on all afternoon. Don't worry, I won't. But I enjoy talking, particularly about subjects that are close to my heart. So data, analytics, marketing, all of those things are things that I really enjoy. So without further ado, I shall share my screen. Great. Well, yeah, thank you again for having me on. And going to go through a talk that we actually gave at MeasureFest last October in Brighton, the wonderful city of Brighton, where I'm sitting today. The sun is shining and it's March, which is exactly what you want at this time of year. It's like a taster of summer for a couple of days, and the beach is just down the road. I gave this talk with my colleague Abby. So Abby's a data scientist here at DataCove. Unfortunately for you, you've just got me today. I'm doing the whole talk all by myself. There are many better pictures of me in the public domain as well. I have no idea why this one was used on this talk, but for some reason it was. So we're going to have to rock and roll with that one today. And what I want to talk about is measurement, but specifically looking at Google Analytics. And I think in measurement, a lot of us think Google Analytics, it's the holy grail. It knows everything. If it's not on Google Analytics, it's wrong. And actually, the way I see it is Google Analytics is one of your biggest problems. And you should look at things in a slightly different way. If you want to find out more, then listen on, because we'll show you ways to analyze your marketing investments and also your marketing plans without using Google Analytics. So just a little bit about myself and about Abby, who's not here. I founded DataCove about 5.5 years ago. We're Brighton-based R, Python and Shiny experts. We had a wonderful introduction before, but we save you time and money by using data to drive smarter decisions. We've worked with a variety of brands. These are not all definitely DataCove brands, but they're brands that Abby and I have worked with over time, particularly from a marketing and media mix perspective. So we've got lots of experience. We've got a vast and varied history in marketing and marketing analytics across a variety of industries. And before I talk too much and bash Google Analytics completely, I actually just want to start by setting the scene and how we make marketing decisions specifically. And when we think about how we make decisions, we probably need to understand the customer and the people that are behind that. Why do people purchase our product? Now, a lot of people think that's really simple. They want it. They saw an ad. Nice and easy. But there's actually lots of different elements that go into that decision. So naturally, we're in a marketing talk. It could be marketing. We could put a wonderful television out, a beautiful billboard that we see when we get off the train in the morning, a great banner at the top of a web page, get paid search ads that bring us up to the top of Google. Marketing channels could be doing a great job, but it might not just be marketing as well. We might not even necessarily remember an advert. There's a lot of noise out there. There are ads everywhere. There's billboards all over the place outside. The break in a TV show, there's tons and tons of ads to see. When you're surfing the web, different ads pop up all the time. So you actually might not remember the ad that you're even seeing. You've also got to think about how long that purchase journey is, right? If I'm going to purchase this wonderful pen over here, I'll walk into the shop and I'll buy the pen. I'm not going to think for hours, days, or even months about whether or not I want to buy this pen. But if I'm buying a car, I don't just wake up in the morning and say, do you know what? I'm going to buy a car today. It's something that you might even see an ad for the car and thought, well, that looks interesting. I'll go and look at that car, but then I'll look at another car to compare it. And then I've got to test drive both, and then I've got to make sure I've got the money. And this thing could take weeks, months. It might even be a year for you to buy a car. It's not exactly a purchase that you take very lightly. And also, marketing doesn't occur in a vacuum. There's lots of things that affect decisions. We're all probably familiar across the world with cost of living at the moment. Cost of living has been rising over the past few years. Things like wars, the economic climate, the environment, elections, government changes, our competitors. There's so many things that affect why we make a decision to purchase. And so you think, oh, well, actually, it's kind of quite easy because we know why people purchase, and we know if people have purchased from various marketing ads because we've got attribution. And attribution's been around forever, and attribution is brilliant, and it knows all the answers. What is attribution, for those of you that are watching that don't know? Essentially, it's a rule book, and you use this rule book to decide how you credit the success, not just the success of your business, but the success of, say, a particular marketing campaign. Did our paid search ad lead to a sale, or lead to enough sales that it's brought us value as a business? And you use that attribution model, say, well, look, this is great. Paid search is working, display's working, maybe Facebook isn't working. We can use that attribution model to put the money where we think it's working, put the money into the paid search and display ads that are working, and take it away from things like Facebook that isn't. And that allows you to change behavior. So you're always going to optimize towards what the model tells you. But the issue is that there isn't one, this is the best attribution model in the world. There are multiple different ways of attributing data. It's the typical data answer, right? It depends. It depends how you look at it. It depends how you cut it. There are so many different ways of looking at attribution. And so you've then got to take a step back and think, well, what model do I look at? And so let's talk about a few different attribution models. You've got the first click model, and I'll breeze through this because I think many people here are probably familiar with attribution. This is the first thing that you see, takes all the credit for whatever it is that's been purchased. So that car, the first thing that people saw, takes all the credit. And at the flip scale, you have the last click version. So the last thing that people see takes all the credit for that purchase through the ad. And then you've got a linear version, so all of the steps along the way, and I should make it clear at this point that some journeys do have more than 5 steps. I can only fit 5 on a slide, so I've only done 5-step journeys here, but each one of those 5 has taken 20% of the credit here. You can also do a time decay model. So, this one's quite popular amongst analysts because it's like, oh, it looks kind of vaguely scientific. The most recent thing I've seen gets the most credit, and then it goes down in some kind of stepwise or logarithmic way up to the least most recent thing I've seen, which gets the least credit. And then you've got position-based, where you can say chart for position-based is the same as the chart for the time decay. Position-based should show, don't know how the charts got corrupted, but it should show that step 1 and step 5 have more credit and the steps in the middle don't. But the idea is you give a different weighting to every position on the journey. And normally, when I'm talking to a load of people, I'd ask, if I was in a room and I did this at Brighton SEO, I'd ask for a show of hands and say, which one's the best? Which model's the best? Is it first click? Is it last click? Is it log decay? Is it position-based? The answer is actually none of them. None of them are the best because it kind of depends, really. We don't know why people are buying things unless we go to every individual person and say, why did you buy this pen? Is it because you saw an advert for pens on Google? Or is it because you wanted a pen? We don't know which ads are performing well. So then you go to Google Analytics, and what do Google Analytics do? And actually, for a long time, last click has been the model that Google Analytics have favoured. And we've always looked at last click attribution. The last thing that people see takes the credit. And then they kind of came up with this data-driven method, the data-driven model. But the issue with that is it's a bit of a black box. We don't know how it works. We don't know what sits behind it. Dare I say, it might even favour Google if it's been developed by Google as well. So it's a model, but we don't understand how that model works. Why would you use a method that you don't understand, that you can't control the parameters of? But also, Google's models only go back 90 days. And we know, going back to the car, it might take you longer to buy that car probably not going to buy the car online anyway. I mean, if you've got enough money to buy a car online, please come and get in touch with me. I'd love to know your secret. But some purchases take longer. And once that 90-day window expires, our attribution model's not going to account for the full journey of that purchase. But also, and this is something I think a lot of people don't think about when it comes to measurement, many people, when you're looking at measurement, think everything is to do with marketing. But actually, not everything is. And also not everything is online as well. So Google Analytics is great at looking at Google and Facebook and all of your online channels. But what about things like TV, radio, billboards, magazines? None of that's included. So you're not accounting for the full journey. And as I've said, there is that whole non-advertising aspect as well. So we've got online, we've got offline, but what about people that buy things because they want to buy them? As I say, you probably buy a pen because you want it, not because you've seen an advert for pens. So you could market pens all you like, but people are just going to buy it anyway. And that's what we call kind of a baseline effect. And so this means that Google Analytics, whilst we've got attribution, doesn't get us that far. The Google Analytics model doesn't get us even any further. But we can look at techniques that allow us to look at the entire picture. And this is where econometrics comes in. So econometrics is a longer term model. So forget about that whole 90-day limit that Google's got. Econometrics looks at the long term, the future, the past. It looks at things over a specific number of years that you feed into the model. And it measures all media, but also non-media activities as well. One of the examples I like to use regularly is bread. And you go into the supermarket, you're walking down the bread aisle, you pick up a loaf of bread, and you don't say, and I'm not going to advertise a brand, you don't pick up your favourite brand of bread and say, I just saw an ad for that on TV before I left home, so I'm going to buy that one. You just unconsciously put that into your trolley. And so non-media is as important as the marketing aspect as well. But it can also help you answer other holistic questions, which we'll come into in a minute. And we often see this. This is the gold standard of marketing analytics. This is the way to get something that's robust, that accounts for all of the nuances within your data and allows you to make the right decision as quickly and as accurately as you can. And what kind of questions can it answer? So naturally, the big question is ROI. We always think about, we're putting some money in, what are we getting back out? And what contribution, what level does each channel, what level does my offline, such as TV and radio and outdoor, contribute to that, but my online, so my search, my display, my Facebook, etc., contribute to that. And then it also shows you the measurement of your external factors. So this is where things like seasonality, competitors, cost of living, elections, any other political factors might come in. Now you'll notice econometrics, very long, horrible term. It's often referred to as media mix modeling as well. And the important word there is mix. It allows you to understand how channels work together. So for example, do I get more out of my paid search when I'm running a TV ad as well? If you think about how people consume TV, you watch TV in the middle of a break, an ad comes on. Oh, well, that's interesting. Let me Google that. Get my phone out and you Google it. TV and search work very well together, and that's what the media mix model enables you to look at. Where are you in comparison to your competitors? If you're at the top of your market, your competitors can help you, because when they advertise and people see their offerings not as good as yours, they'll be more suited to come to you. But sometimes competitors can hurt you if they've got a better offer, a better product. So sometimes your competitor advertising isn't good for your brand. And you can determine that with an econometric model. When you start something different, a new channel, a new campaign, you can feed that into the model and see if it has an uplift on any of your key performance indicators. But also you can use it for scenario planning as well. So what is the optimal amount? What should I spend by week, by channel? Does that differ at one time of year to the next? But also this whole concept of diminishing returns, which we'll come to shortly. And you can create media mix models in many ways. We at DataCove build the bespoke option. So we use R and Python to write our own models and put our own code together. We like that because it gives full autonomy over all of the results, over all of the modeling criterion as well. So it means you're in control of the model that you're building. But there are open source options. The popular ones are Robin by Meta, Meridian by Google. I'm not going to sit here and say they're wrong, but naturally you don't know what's going on under the hood. if you can build and control this model yourself, you get a lot more flexibility. And naturally, these models begin with data. And it's one of those things when you're looking at data and modeling, don't go in and build the model straight away. Get to know the data, get to understand it. It's like anything in life, get to know it first before you go full depth into anything. And so we get to know the data by looking at a few things. How are our data points related to each other? So as an example, this is called a correlation matrix, or some people call it a dance mat or a twister board, whatever you want to call it. But the idea of looking at this is which variables are highly correlated with each other. Because if you put in two variables that are telling you the same thing or the same pattern within your data, they won't work together in the model. So you need to find ways of putting them in, either merging them if they're similar types of marketing channels, or putting clicks instead of impressions, or cost instead of clicks for one variable. Ways of actually feeding the data into the model so that each impact is shown individually. And the other thing that I want to talk about is lags. So we've spoken a bit about purchasing and the purchase journey, and I'm going to go back to the car again. When you first see an ad for a car, you're probably not going to buy that car tomorrow. So if we imagine here, when I can find my mouse pointer, it comes in, there it is, there's a mouse cursor. Here's our ad for a car. You know, we've had a sharp rise, we've put a lot of effort into advertising this car here, and a lot of effort in here. But actually the sales or the KPI that we're looking at doesn't rise for another few weeks. That's what we call a lag, and we say advertising starts now, but we don't tend to see an impact until 2 weeks later. It's separate from ad stock, which is what we'll come to in a second, but first I want to talk about the optimal spend and diminishing returns. So here's an example of a diminishing returns curve. Diminishing returns is the effect that there aren't an infinite number of people in the world. Once everybody that's going to buy your product has seen your ad, spending more money isn't going to reach more people because you've already reached the people that care. And this is the concept of diminishing returns. Where do we stop? At what point does spending more money not reach more people? And if you have a look, you've got this curve here with what we call the red zone that we've highlighted in the middle. And you can see that all of the points above this zone, we're just adding more spend, but we're not really adding more sales to the model or to our total number of sales that we're getting through as a brand. This is the point of diminishing returns. This tells us we need to spend within this red zone range here. And then conversely, this ad stock effect. So I mentioned lags previously when an ad occurs and it takes a week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks for the impact to start being noticed. This is the other end of the scale. What happens when you stop advertising? So I'm going to give it's a UK-based example, so apologies for non-UK-based people watching, but compare the market. Advertise with cute little cuddly meerkats with crazy strange voices. It's one of my favourite ads out there. But if those meerkats came off the TV screen tomorrow, if they came off all of the billboards, you'd probably remember them next month, in 3 months, in 6 months. You might even remember them in a year. And that's because the ad has been on for so long that they are now associated with the brand. Those meerkats are part of, what you call that brand's memory. And if it stopped altogether, you would still buy products because you remember the meerkat. And that's what's called ad stock. And it's demonstrated by this chart here where you can see advertising stops, but it takes a while for that effect, for the number of sales we get, to go back down towards zero. And it takes a little bit longer. Here you can see the tail is a little bit longer when we've been advertising for several weeks in a row. That's what we call the stop, or the ad stock effect. And all of these things are not in your traditional attribution or Google Analytics models. Your ad stocks, your lags, your diminishing returns, which are core concepts of that purchase journey. So, okay, bit of theory. Don't worry, theory over. Let's actually go to some practice. Let's do the exciting bit. How does it all work? So I wanted to take you through a case study. And it's a case study we worked on. In fact, many people probably across the globe will have heard of Xero. So Xero, accounting and business software. If you haven't used it, great for your finance needs. And Xero gets sales from 2 different sources. So sales can either come from, I'm going to go directly to Xero and buy their tool and buy their software and their product. Or it can come from an accountant. You register with a new accountant. That accountant uses Xero and says, you must use Xero if you're working with me. when you go on to use Xero. And it means it's relatively or rarely a straightforward attribution journey. And why is that? It's because people see an ad. It's not the most exciting thing, accounting software, right, is it? So you see an ad, like, maybe I need accounting software, maybe I don't. Let's have a look at what else is around in the market. Let's chat to some accountants, and maybe several weeks later you land the product. You might even take a trial. I think there is an X number of days free trial that you can take as well. And so it means unpicking which channels are working, which bits of the advertising model are working and which aren't, can be complex. And this is why we needed a media mix model or an econometric model. And it allowed us to look at various different things. It really allowed us to look at channel effectiveness across the entire Xero landscape. How did each channel play a part in driving people to buy Xero? How did that differ when they came directly as to when they came from their accountant? But also which channels work well together. We had times when we had TV and radio working at the same time, TV alone, TV and search, TV and YouTube. How do all of these things work together? And crucially, with that diminishing returns aspect, where are we overspending? Which channels are we putting too much budget into and have reached their maximal level? Can we take some of that money away, put it into another channel, save it, not spend it, and keep it in our pocket so that we're improving our overall media ROI? We also looked at, there were various different, it's a model that we've looked at for years, various different strategies. Sometimes we have 1 week on, 1 week off. Sometimes we have media on for a period of weeks. Which was the best strategy? And how did that differ by marketing channel as well? And we mentioned overspending, but where is the value? Where's the untapped value? If we are overspending, which channels should we be going into next to really drive growth for the brand? And what we found out, so, and apologies, I haven't got real numbers on this chart because I couldn't really produce real numbers. That would be a little bit too telltale. But this is the red zone. This is TV advertising. The red zone is really where they should be, as determined from the model. And you can see that earlier periods, I'm not looking at this most recent optimized period here, we're regularly advertising and spending too much money, more than we should be, based on the model and the optimal value. We said, actually, look, reduce the spend. This is where you should be. And you can see that in this early period here, spend was reduced to either just within or just below this range. And what we saw was an increase in TV ROI by 37%. Very, very limited impact on sales, but by reducing the amount that we spent by a lot of money, and I won't say how much, we managed to improve TV ROI. And we could then redeploy that budget into other marketing channels where there was potential and was room to grow. And we also mapped out the sensitivity to external factors, so seasonalities. There's a big seasonality at the start and end of the financial year, for example. People tend to take this product out in the last week of the month or at the end of a quarter when you need to think about being a little bit more careful and considered with your accounting. We looked at government behaviours, policies, the impact of Brexit. So, we saw a slight reduction or a slight impact of Brexit, for example. But then we also tested things like elections, the cost of living crisis. How did the cost of living affect sales? And really, that was a competitiveness thing against their competitors who had the best pricing. Because in a world where all of the prices are going up, everyone's trying to save money, people are looking for the best deal that they can. Sentiment, so we looked at things like NPS, how people perceived and rated them online, what impact did that have when NPS scores went up or down, and all sorts of other things, so PR, crime. I won't go into the depths and the details of all of them, but it allowed us to map a significant level of external factors so that we could understand not just how the product was working from a marketing level, but also from outside of that too. And I mentioned kind of Trustpilot scores. What we saw is that there was a very good presence on Trustpilot, but at this point here, when Trustpilot ratings went down, we saw a significant drop in the number of sales that were coming through. So if you think about Trustpilot, people will go on there, they'll have a look at your score, they'll have a look at your competitors, and what we noted from the model is keeping that score high was helping you not lose out to competitors by X. Again, can't say what X is in too much detail. And we built it, going back to marketers, planners, love a spreadsheet. So we built it into a spreadsheet. This has got dials in, reset buttons. You can turn things up, you can turn things down. But allowed us to say, look, if we're going to spend a bit more on Google search or a bit less on YouTube, what would the impact of that be? And you can build that into a spreadsheet. I tend to prefer building them into a Shiny app, or if you prefer other things rather than R and Python, you can use Looker, Power BI. But again, it doesn't matter what you build it in. This is a way of putting the tool, the model, the complexity of the mathematics back into the hands of the media planner. So, to conclude and to bring all of that together, there's a lot of theory, a lot of practice in there as well. I think a lot of people make you believe that media mix modeling and econometrics is for the big brands, the people with lots and lots of money. And yes, it can cost to build a model, but it is an investment because you will uncover areas where you can save money. So talking about that channel reader point, we're overspending here, we could put that money here and get a better result, or we could save it. So they pay for themselves. They don't cost £70,000 or above either. That's what the big consultancies will make you think. You can do a very light version for 10 to 15k. A lot of people might see that as still too much, but we will find ways to make these kind of methods accessible to everybody. And we're looking at working with academics to build this out into a bigger tool that people can use, so that even if you've got smaller marketing budgets, you can still get the power of what we call gold standard marketing measurement. And we are award winning. I mean, naturally, I'm going to get to the end and say, yes, we've won an award. Probably alluded to it on this. We probably overused this picture a little bit. In 2025, particularly the work that we've spoken about for Xero, we won a Bronze Institute of Practitioners in Advertising, IPA for short, award for the 4 years worth of work that we did with Xero, earning lots and lots of money, and we can't talk about the amounts. And we've also been finalists in other categories as well. So not only do we build models, those models win awards too. I have really enjoyed talking to you this afternoon. As you can probably tell, I can go on for hours and hours on this and any subject when it comes to data, measurement, analytics, but I will stop there. There is a QR code on this final slide here, so you can scan that. That allows you to reach me, DataCove, across all of our socials, our platforms. It shows you more about the events that we run as well. We run community groups across the UK. We run a big international conference in the UK in October. So there's more details of all of that if you click on this link, and you'll find our website and our YouTube videos, which has got free resources and tutorials on it too. Thank you very much for listening. Love to connect. You'll find me on LinkedIn, or you'll find all of everything else that you need through the QR code. Thank you.
Jeremy, thank you very much for the very insightful presentation. And I would like maybe to use a few minutes just for the quick Q&A session. Of course, we don't have our, as it's not live, let's say we don't have a space for live questions, but I'm curious because, of course, for marketers that maybe are new, that are listening to this, another econometric modeling can sound complex or even intimidating. So my question is, if you want to start simple, where should you begin?
I think where to get started is often a really difficult thing. And I think when people think, oh, it's quite overwhelming, maybe I shouldn't start because there's so much to look at. I think the first thing to do before you even go into in-depth analytics is think, do I actually need this? And one of the things with marketing analytics or econometric modeling is, what does your mix look like? If you're doing online and offline advertising, then probably you need an econometric model. But if you're doing just online and it's just search and Facebook, you can probably work with simple attribution methods. So if you've got a small number of channels, not a great mix, not a great variation as well, you're doing the same thing all the time, perhaps media mix modeling won't get you further. If you are ticking the boxes of I'm doing online, I'm doing offline, I'm testing different things with my channels, the best place to get started is just making sure that you've got your data in order before you even model. Don't think about the model. How am I recording my weekly spend data? What's my KPI? What else outside of the marketing ecosystem do I think will affect that KPI? Because if you put together a list of all these factors, you can probably do some basic pre-media mix modeling analysis to see what's important within my brand, within my ecosystem, rather than going sort of too in-depth too quickly. And in terms of building a model, just get started simple. Don't put lots and lots of effort into collecting data. 2 years is enough. for it to be able to build up seasonality. Some people tell you need a 5-year model. Don't start going back and collecting 5 years of data. In my mind, 5 years is a long time, and you might introduce patterns that are no longer there into your model. Always start simple. It's the best advice in terms of any kind of analysis. Start simple and build it up over time.
Excellent. I think you already answered my next question, but it was also about the spread of channels. But we see that many marketers today are still focused on reporting performance per channel. And yeah, I'm curious, how should they just start shifting their mindset and, of course, their reporting if they want to understand overall the impact instead of just channel level results?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to sit here and say channel level results are wrong either. I think when you're putting together a marketing plan, it's important to know which channels are working, but it's also important to remember a couple of things. Number one, not every channel is going, not every channel is going to have an impact. That might be a really tough thing to say, but if you've got a marketing channel that you don't use very often and you don't spend very much in, you're probably not going to see an impact from it. So looking at channel level results might say, well, that channel's no good. But actually, it could be good if you test it further. So not every channel has an impact. Some channels will only have an impact when they're working alongside another channel as well. This is why that whole media mix, when I was talking about search, works really well with TV, because people see a TV ad and they pick up their phone and they go and Google it. So search and TV work really well together. It's not about channel isolation, it's about channel mix. And also just remembering the fact that not everything is down to a channel. Some people buy your product because they need it. So you might think, this is great, we've had 1,000 sales because we've done so many ads. But like, how many would you get without the ads? What's your baseline? What does it look like without advertising? So it goes so much deeper than marketing channel insight.
Yes. I agree. Yeah, there are things that are also basics, right? You will buy with or without ads
Yeah.
eventually. And Jeremy, but just to conclude, so if marketers take one thing away from your talk today, what should they start doing differently tomorrow? What would be like one thing?
I think the one thing to do differently is I would take away, is your attribution model working for you? Are you using the right measurement technique? Because if you have doubts that what you're getting from attribution isn't actually moving the needle for you as a brand, it isn't moving you forward. We've constantly been looking at this attribution model for years and years and years, but actually we're not growing. If you've got any doubts around that, then perhaps you should think about changing your technique and using something like a media mix model.
Excellent, Jeremy. I want to thank you very much for the insightful presentation and all the knowledge that you share with us today. And
Mm.
we will be live with this presentation soon on our social media channels. Where can they follow you, people that are listening?
So you can follow me LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. That QR code on the last slide. So DataCove, we've got a YouTube channel. We've got X. Apparently we've got Instagram, but I'm not cool enough to use Instagram. So I'm sure you'll find some stuff on there. All of the platforms, you'll see us out and about at events as well. I'm very, very happy to connect with people. So if you drop me a LinkedIn request, it might be worth putting that you did listen to the talk.
Yes.
As well, that has been shared on socials. Just because I get so many, at least I'll know where you're coming to me from. But yeah, always love to meet new people and chat. So do connect and stay in touch.
We'll probably see you at the next event. Thank you very much, Jeremy, and I
Absolutely.
wish you a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you, and you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.